Welcome back in, builders. This week we're taking a look at late age Phlegra, sleeping giants. Phlegra is a kingdom of human slaves living in constant terror of the monstrous giants that once claimed the land as theirs. For centuries, the giants have been absent, and only memories of their tyranny remain. Most of the Phlegran population are human slaves and slave masters, dominated by a warrior caste of younger cyclopes, previously living pastoral lives on the slopes of the Phlegran Hills. The tyrants who once ruled the land were descendants of the gigantes of Mekone, who made war upon the gods of men. Punished for their sins, the gigantes were imprisoned and cursed with monstrous appearance. Those who avoided imprisonment became tyrants and rulers of Phlegra, and formed a slave kingdom with the aid of human servants. But the tyrants destroyed each other and the very land they ruled. Slowly their numbers and influence dwindled, and their servants made themselves rulers in all but name. The human slave masters rule the kingdom in the name of absent tyrants, hoping that the sleeping giants never wake up. Quite the opposite of them, we are quite hoping that the sleeping giants will awaken. For national features, this is humans and younger cyclops. Monstrous imprisoned Lystrogronians will eventually break free. The military is few but mighty cyclops soldiers. By default, each of our forts can get 4 cyclops soldiers per turn. Mostly human slave soldiers are led by taskmasters, and we have no sacred troops. For magic, we use good, fire, earth, and we have a little bit of death, water, air, and astral. We have arcane slave communions, and we have cyclops smiths. Our priests are weak and few. Our dominion increases unrest. That's very unfortunate. We have a lot of unrest going on. For scales and blesses, we have a turmoil limit of +1. We build standard forts of the era, which means we build normal citadels, and we start with a giant fort. For sites, we start with 2. We have the Talipios, which allows us to recruit our Cyclops Smith, the Oppressor Archon, and the Iron Guard, and produces 1 Earth Gem per turn. We also have the Burning Mountain, which increases heat by a maximum of +2 and produces 3 Death Gems. However, after about 3 years, the spoilers, volcano explodes and the giants are free again. And that will change our site to the Shattered Volcano. The Shattered Volcano only gives 1 fire gem and also gives 1 death gem. So we go down a little in fire. However, that allows us to recruit Lystrogonian tyrants. And if you have Gigantomantia available, it also allows you to get a couple troop versions of them. Quite nice. Units and sacreds. For sacreds, we have no sacred. For units, we have a small but pretty decent lineup. First up, we have a Helot Archer. This is unfortunately a short bow in the late era, but as far as late era bows go, this is okay because he is a slave. That makes him very cheap. He is 3 gold per year for upkeep, 8 gold, 5 resources, 4 recruitment points, magic resistance 10, basic human stats, very untrained, really bad morale. These are nice in the fact they are so cheap that you could probably throw 2, 3, 4 of these per crossbowman firing back, and hopefully you can just wipe out enemy crossbows if you need to. Alternatively, just using these as a screen for our own crossbows so that the enemy fires into these instead of our more valuable crossbows. Overall, okay. Next up, we have the Helot Crossbowman. This is a rather expensive crossbow. 8 gold, 26 resources, 4 recruitment points. Human stats, has a short sword and a crossbow, is armored in a plate cuirass and a full helmet, so quite armored. Is another slave troop, so again, very cheap on the upkeep, but really bad morale. Next, we have the Helot Soldier. This is a soldier who has a broadsword. He's got a plate cuirass, a full helmet, and a shield, all for the price of 8 gold, 26 resources, 4 recruitment points. Again, very high recruitment resource cost. He is a slave troop. He has a little bit better morale, and he has lab promotion. This unit will get promoted and turn into another unit if it gains enough experience, but this will only occur in a province with a friendly lab. We will show those guys here in a second. Next, we have the Iron Guard. These are what those other guys promote up into. These are also available via our site in the capital. These are our heavier troops, 15 gold, 35 resources, 16 recruitment points. Much better than human stats. However, low magic resistance and really good morale. These guys are magic beings. They are slaves. They have bodyguard 2. They wield a broadsword with 14 attack, 18 damage. That is really impressive. That is a nice stat line. They have a plate halberd, a full helmet, and a shield, giving them 21 on the head and 18 on the body, plus the shield defense. Pretty decent, but man alive, you're paying a lot for that. Is it worth it? I'm not certain in this case. Next up, we have the Mouflon Cataphract. We've seen some of these in other nations, and these are pretty good. 40 gold, 50 resources, 31 recruitment points. Get a better than human stat line, including magic resistance. The morale is a little low because they're a slave troop. They have mountain survival. They have skilled rider. They have a lance, broadsword, plate halberd, full helm, and shield. These are actually pretty decent, and the Mouflons are okay. They are animals, so they only have the 5 magic resistance, but okay morale. The headbutt is actually kind of decent. They have good cataphract armor. They're cold resistant. They actually give you a supply bonus, which is quite nice. So overall, a decent, I'm going to call it heavy cav option. Next, we have the Cyclops Soldier. This is a limited recruit, 4 per turn per fort. And these are pretty decent again. 40 gold, 67 resources. So that's quite high. Great HP at 42. High strength, okay attack, okay defense. They have minimum leader size 6. So you have to lead these guys around with giants. You cannot use just your human commanders. They're also gluttony 1, which means they eat more food than they otherwise would for their size. You see here, supply usage 3.0, and I believe it's actually 4 once we include this. They have a Cyclops Spear, which is a length 4 that they're quite good with. 12 attack and 26 magic damage. That's really nice. That's a good repel weapon, and it has the bonus of being magic. They also have a Javelin. They are pretty terrible with the Javelin, but it's a giant throwing a Javelin, range 22, 24 piercing damage. May as well throw it. That's fine. They have a Cyclops Cuirass, a Cyclops Hoplon, and a Cyclops Helmet. Overall, I like these guys quite a bit. You're going to want to try to pump out 4 of these in every single fort, I think. And remember that you can filter in a size 3 or 4 creature in the same square and give them a little bit of relief from getting harassed down too much. They would appreciate that. Beyond those, we have the Ironbound. These are actually the units that promote up from the Helots. Unfortunately, I don't have a living one at the moment. I've been using them. That is not leveled up. But as you can see here, they're magic beings and they're slave units with really good morale. Essentially, they're like mind controlled with the tyrant oppressor headbands. That means they do need to be led around by somebody who has magic pathing and magic leadership. So be careful with that. It can be a little bit annoying when some of your troops promote and then you don't have somebody around to lead them around. As you can see, okay, hit points, strength, etc., etc. Do remember this is being influenced by these levels that he's got, but almost as good as the Iron Guard. They have the broadsword and good gear. If you get them, great. You can't do much to keep human troops alive, but if they make it, good for them, I suppose. Heroes, commanders, and profit. For heroes, my mod actually is not showing them, but we have here Encalados, the first Gigante. This is I'm going to call him a hero, that comes out of the volcano when it explodes. So he has 4 fire, 4 earth, 2 death. He is a gem generator. He produces 2 fire gems. So we end up keeping the same amount of income, assuming you don't lose him. And he runs it with all kinds of stuff, including fear, fire resist, poison resistant, berserk, recuperation. He's a huge glutton. He's a heretic. He has a shattered soul. This is the same thing that Tartarans suffer from. He's a taskmaster +4. He's a pop killer 100. He produces unrest. He's unsurvivable. He has combat caster and affliction resistance. These are arguably some of the chassis that's similar to him, are arguably some of the best units in the game. But they do definitely have some weaknesses. As you can see here, a lot of attacks, a lot of magic attacks, no feet, notably. His feet are snakes. Your argument is invalid. So you can't put boots on him, but otherwise he's decent. Head is crown and laurel only. Again, watch which helmets you're able to actually put on him. In addition, I don't believe I got him this game. I believe there is a Cyclops hero that is just a slightly better Cyclops, has a little bit better pathing. For our main commander line, we have the Phlegra commander. This is a human troop. He is a taskmaster +2, but he only has 50 leadership. He himself is a slave, so his morale is rather low. With 50 leadership, I am not impressed. Next, we have the Cyclops commander. Do remember, our Cyclops troops must be led by either him or the Cyclops or something you summon in that is rather large. They have the Cyclops sword, which is a magic weapon, javelins, and the Cyclops gear. They are gluttons and taskmaster +2. Again, though, unfortunately, only leadership 75. 105 gold, 83 resources, 1 recruitment point. They're okay. Just be aware, if this is the only large thing in your army, they can be rather targeted with crossbows. At least he is decently geared against that. Next, we have the Phlegra Cataphract Commander. This is the mounted troop. Again, mountain survival, taskmaster. He's a slave himself and a skilled rider. 135 gold, 50 resources, 2 recruitment points. Big thing of note here, 100 leadership gives us a +1. And taskmaster +3 gives us a +4. That's going to help your human troops an absolute ton, taking those 6 or 7 morale troops up to something that's at least usable. I like him a lot. Bat move is 16, which is the same as the Mouflons here, and is higher, I believe, than the human troops. So he will not slow you down. Next, we have the Phlegra Priest. This is a 90 gold, 1 resource, 1 recruitment priest. Priest 1, he is sacred himself. He does have taskmaster and 50 leadership, so you could shuffle units around with him. He's a slave himself, and he reduces unrest by 2. This is rather useful because, remember, our Dominion actually increases unrest, so you're either going to have to put extra PD down, or you're going to have to use a few of these guys. Next, we have a Shackled Mage. 95 gold, 1 resource, 2 recruitment points. These are interesting mages. They come in with fire, air, water, or earth at 100%. Only 5 research. They are a slave unit, so they cost almost nothing. 38 gold per year. So right there, 38 for 5 is already efficient. And they are communion slaves. That means if you have a communion master on the battlefield, you will automatically enter into a communion. This allows you to do things like turn 1 evocations that you need to support via a communion. Now, the downside here, you can't opt out of that. These guys are auto-entered into a communion if it exists. Number 2, the pathing of what they get and what your communion leaders want to cast probably won't line up perfectly. These guys are going to have pretty high attrition. They're going to get blown out by fatigue. You start taking damage once you pass out as a communion slave. And we don't have very good pathing to try to help them or buff them up or heal them or give them HP. So it's a very powerful thing, but it's finicky and prone to failure. I'll also note that while this 5 doesn't seem great, you could add 2 magic on top of that. You're already up to 7 for 38 gold. Or if you have various other ways of increasing research, these guys are really good researchers, very efficient, if not fast. Next up, we have the Phlegra Oppressor. Not very impressive to me, frankly. 160 gold, 1 resource, 2 recruitment points. Morale is only 9. Good magic resistance. They have a leadership of 60, which does include magic leadership, fire, earth, and 100% of air or water. I'm not super impressed by that. They're auto into communion, so I guess there's that. They do have taskmaster, and they do research a bit faster, although it's inefficient. I'm not in love with these mages. If you have something you love about them, let me know. I suppose if you brought along a couple guys that had some earth, then he could do a empower or summon earth power. With summon earth power, that would go down to the communion slaves. So like him and 2 of the lesser guys would be a pretty good earth battery for doing earth spells. But beyond that, I'm not in love with that one. Next, we have the Oppressor General. This is a human leader, 185 gold, 21 resources, 2 recruitment points, better than human stats, 100 leadership. He comes in with Earth 1 and a random of fire, air, or water, 100%. He's a taskmaster +2, and he is a communion master. So the thing here is, do remember that you add your encumbrance to your spells. He has a spellcasting encumbrance of 10. That's a lot of spellcasting encumbrance. So be careful, especially if he's in communions, that he doesn't really kill people with that. Next, we have the Cyclops Smith. This is a cap only unit. He's 335 gold, 3 resources, 2 recruitment points, great giant stats, including high morale and high magic resistance. He has okay leadership, although not formations. He has magical leadership. He comes in automatically with fire, earth, and has a 110% chance to get fire, air, water, earth. So pretty decent there. Has fire resistance, mountain survival, master smith. This increases your magic levels by 1 for the purposes of crafting. So an earth 2 guy counts as a 3 for the purposes of making things. They also increase resource bonus by 20. This is quite useful, as our troops, as we've seen, were ridiculously expensive for resources. Finally, we have the Oppressor Archon. This is our cap-only mage. He is a sacred. 470 gold, 1 resource, 4 recruitment points. So we do have 3 points in the capital, but that's still going to be slow to recruit, kind of, sort of. He has old man stats, which is unfortunate. He comes in with fire 1, air 1, water 1, earth 1, astral 1, and 2 100% chances. The first one is fire and earth. The second one is fire, air, earth, astral. And again, another 10% on top of that one. Overall, pretty good. They have priest level 2, which is our highest priests. They have taskmaster +2, which frankly, they're about as good as our leadership gets anyways. They have good magic leadership. They have communion master. These are probably what you want to be leading your communions with. Be careful, again, they're going to absolutely blow up those communion slaves. You need to way overnumber the amount you think you might otherwise need. Beyond that, though, the main power here is auto communions allow you to turn 1 cast something. That means that, for example, the enemy can't do anti-magic, and you could do like Enslave Army. Or the enemy doesn't have time to do windshield, and you're able to do a blade wind into them or something. You could drop big things like flame strikes or cloud of fires or whatever it is on turn 1, probably before the enemy does anything. I do think there would be some value in taking Farcaster just for that. That means on like round 1, you could drop, I don't know, let's say 3 falling fires just directly into the enemy troops. Oftentimes people are positioned so that if a falling fire landed on their starting position, you would hit the mages and priests that are behind the front line. That's very dangerous. And frankly, either your enemy realizes that and they back their mages up, which makes buffing harder and makes range issues, perhaps, depending on what they're trying to cast, or they don't catch it and you wipe out all their mages. So that could be quite good. Now, the downside here, he is 65 years old. Remember, this can be plus or minus like 5 years. So he might be very old. And his max age is only 48. These guys really would appreciate an unaging bless. With an unaging bless, let me see if I got one here. He is 42 years old. And that means he is not old. He needs, this one here in particular, needs 2 more years before he hits old age. If we look at his stats, he does have 1 experience here, so a little bit of extra stats. But still, if you look here, this is a lot healthier than what we were previously seeing. A lot healthier. 16 map move compared to only 12, for example. That's pretty big. That's the difference between being able to get some 2 province moves and never getting 2 province moves. Beyond that, he is also our best priest. That's unlikely to be overly useful, other than, unfortunately, you may actually need some Sermons of Courage, which I'm not the type of unit I would like to do that, but you might need it. You very well might need it. So another thing there. Overall, pretty good with the turn 1 being able to cast, not having to waste a script on communions, being able to jump right in. This is good pathing. They also make pretty good site searchers. They can search for all these things. Do note that we don't have any death searching just here. We would have to wait for other giants to wake up, essentially. But beyond that, this is basically all of our paths, and he can get out there and get searching for you. Ideally, you'd probably get like a fire 2, air 2, and then like an earth 2, astral 2, or, whatever it is. But even just at base stats, this guy's a pretty good site searcher for you. Very expensive though. 470 gold is pricey. Also note, these guys are cap only, as are our big boys, the Lystragonian tyrants that awaken out of the mountain blowing up. If we look at one of my other forts, you can't get them here. So it's only in the capital. So once these guys wake up, how many oppressors are you going to build? Like, just think about that. These are our final commander, and these are some of the, if not the most powerful recruitable thug slash super combatants. 845 gold, 8 resources, 6 recruitment points. So slow to recruit. They have really good stats, including 88 HP, good magic resist, good morale. They're okay leaders. In fact, even good for undead and magic units. They come in with very strong magic, 4 fire, 3 earth, 2 death, and a 10% chance to get fire, air, earth, and death. So very, very strong there. However, they've got a lot of downsides too. Other traits that they have, they're poor amphibians, they have fear, they have fire resistance, they have poison resistance, they have berserk, a big siege bonus, they have recuperation, they have gluttony, they're a heretic, so they lower your candles. The shattered soul makes them uncontrollable, 5% chance, I believe, that they just do something else, whatever they're feeling. They have taskmaster +4, they kill 70 pop, they are really bad researchers, they cause 10 unrest each per turn, they're unsurroundable too, and they are combat casters. These guys are incredible. You could give these guys something along the lines of Soul Vortex, Phoenix Pyre, Temper Flesh, Iron Skin, Fire Shield, let's say. That's a script you could use. That would be pretty dang unkillable. And that's not even talking about giving them some other stuff via gear. You probably will want to give them some gear. They only are running 16 on the head and 20 on the body for protection. Our natural protection is 16, and that's from Earth Magic partially. So they would really like a chest piece. Do note they can only wear the crowns, just like the hero. No boots, and some other gear slots. I would think maybe a better repel weapon. The Great Club's fine, I suppose, but it's not magical. So an AoE weapon, maybe give them some even more attacks. Do note the snake trusses have 5 attacks, which is quite a lot, although those are rather weak attacks. These guys are great, but crossbows. Crossbows exist. You are going to be very sad when you're paying almost 900 gold, slow to recruit, and 100 crossbowmen show up. So I would definitely say you need to up that protection quite a bit. If you do luck into the air guy, air shield is your friend. Maybe give them a piece of gear that would help with that. Somehow, amulet of arrow protection or arrow fin or whatever it's called, or things along those lines. You definitely need a plan for dealing with crossbows. Don't just send this guy in. Don't oops it like I've done recently and forget to give your thug their piece of armor. You need to kit glove these a little bit. One other thing of note here, while this is a very impressive stat line, he doesn't have any way to regen outside of Soul Vortex. So you either need Soul Vortex, or what I like to do is get some nature on your god and be able to hopefully make some rings of regeneration. You're going to be regening up, what would that be, 9 HP per turn at least, and a little bit more if you could bump that HP up to 90. You would really, really like to have that. Make these guys really, really sing. Also, once you do get that site, there is a troop version of these guys. I believe you have to have Gigantomachia up and running in order to recruit them. And if you did Gift of Reason those guys, they are almost like mini versions of these. So you could actually get a lot more of these guys out if you went with a god who could cast Gifts of Reason and you had the nature income for it. So just some food for thought on that. Who would I make my prophet? Well, I think ideally I would probably go with either Cyclops Commander, a Phlegra Cataphract, or maybe even a Cyclops Smith. But if you're going Awake God, which arguably this nation really would like to do, you may just do your starting commander. I believe it's a Phlegra Commander. Reason being, you just need those candles ASAP. We have very weak priests. We're not going to be able to help much with that. And yeah, that's going to be unfortunate. We also don't have a high incentive for taking high Dominion because we don't have any sacreds. So you're probably going to end up 4 or 5, maybe 6. So yeah, again, just getting those candles out ASAP would really help in Awake Expander. As for national items, we have a national item. We have the Oppressor Headband. This is a Earth Magic 3, costs 15 Earth Gems. Requires you to have, or excuse me, when you put it on, it gives you -2 magic resistance, but it makes you a Communion Master. So for example, if you had a god that was a monster, you could just pop this on him, and you wouldn't have to take any astral, and you could benefit from all those slave mages. That's pretty powerful. As I mentioned earlier, the turn 1 big spell cast is very hard to counter off, and so that would be rather useful there. It does give you 6 head protection. Beyond that, that's our only direct one, but a couple other items I would like to call out. We would really, really like more troop morale. So the Whip of Command is a Nature 1 item. It's all the way down here at Construction 5, but it gives you Taskmaster +3 extra and a bunch of extra leadership, but lowers your inspiration. So overall, you end up with a +1. You definitely would only use this on slave troops, but for all your humans, that would apply. And you could have one leader move a lot of troops around with that. So that was one area that you could help. In addition, you could do a Helm of Heroes. This gives you inspiration +2. And yeah, that's nice and cheap, easy for us to cast. Another item we'd be interested in is probably the Dragon Crown. We can do these natively, so we can get in some extra drakes if you want to go that route. We can get the Flame Helmet boosters. We could get the Air boosters. We would like those. Earth boosts, of course, are very easy for you to do. Fire in a Jar, Bracers of Protection, very nice items there. As I mentioned, the Rings of Regeneration. If you do bring in a god who can help you with this, or you luck into the gems and empower or whatever, 10% regen is massive for those super commands. We would really, really like that. As for national magic, we have several, starting in Conjuration. At Conjuration 5, we have Summon Hound of Twilight, 2 Earth and a Death for 3 Earth Gems. We have Procession of the Underworld, which is a 3 Death spell, 13 Death Gems. And at 6, we have Bind Kyries. Next in Construction, we have Forge Brass Bowl, 3 Fire, 3 Earth. A little bit difficult, but with some boosters you can definitely get there. I quite like Brass Bowls. Let's take a look here. The Brass Bowl is the Calcathoros. These guys are size 8. They have good HP. They have good protection. Note that they have Mindless, Never Heals, Trample, Magic Being. They have resistance to all of the physical damage types in addition to Shock, Fire, Cold, and Poison. Quite hard to deal with these, especially because they're not undisciplined. So these guys with some fluffer mages, let's say you cast Iron Skin on him and Body Ethereal, although Body Ethereal, that does nerf your trample, but he also has Flame Breath. So that's a nice little range attack he can do. This weapon sometimes is used in melee instead of other attacks. So a 12 fire damage. I believe this is AoE 1. Actually, I think this is a Flame Breath, now that I say it. It's a little bit short range, but still, that's totally fine. If you were going to go the ethereal route, I think you're hoping for those. If not, then you're hoping for the tramples. These guys are pretty nice. The Hound of Twilights, if you have to fight Lemuria, these guys would be quite helpful. Although, we do have some magic weapons in our roster, so that's fine. The Care are pretty good. These are summonable demons that are invisible and ethereal, and they really, really, really hate undead. They have a Stop the Dead proc on their claws that is pretty hard for them to deal with. We also could do the Lampads. Again, in Vulnerability 15, their Stygian Guide that helps you if you use Stygian paths to move around. They have an AoE 1 Banefire Torch attack, which is AoE 1 Decay. It is a magic hit. Unfortunately, that would be very useful against Lemuria, but Lemuria is going to be hitting back with magic weapons, and they have no protection. So that's a little unfortunate, but may even still be worth it. Maybe you try to have these come in as a second wave in your front line and maybe filter in. Or you could do the cyclopes first, and then these ladies filter in behind them and clean up the ghosts pretty effectively. That could work for you. And while I haven't talked about the spell yet, we also have the Sparte, which are not actually undead, although it describes them as skeleton-like. They're magic beings. These are a combat summon, and they come in with a magic weapon here. Quite nice, actually. Those guys are over in enchantment at enchant 6. They do require Earth 2, but we do get some Earth 2s, so it's not like that's not available. For 1 Earth gem, you actually get 10 of those guys. I think this is one of the better combat summons, actually, if you're willing to toss Earth gems into it. Let's say 4 mages, that's extra 40 troops. And those stats are actually pretty good with the nice magic weapons and the nice gear, and they're not going to have fatigue problems. I like those quite a bit, actually. Finally, in Thaumaturgy, at Thom 7, we have Gigantomachia. A little hard to cast natively, but you definitely can do it with a little bit of work. 60 Earth Gems. This one, you, again, declare war on the gods. It's worked so well before. You get recruitment limit in friendly domain +1 for giants. That includes those Lystragorians, I believe. You get a Dominion conflict bonus of +3. So when your Dominion and an enemy Dominion are trying to push into each other, there's a versus roll that happens. A +3 is a major bonus on that. Like a major bonus. Like Dom killing levels of bonus. Assuming that you have the same Dominion, let's say you both have 7 or 6. Having a +3 on that roll is huge. That's a 50% bonus. It also lowers our cost by 10, which at 40 a pop for Cyclops Warriors, that's not bad. That's 40 gold save per fort. That's quite a bit there. Beyond that, I would say Conjuration for Summon Earth Power and Firepower. Alteration is very important for the protection buffs, including the Temper Flesh, which is very good. And if you're going to go with the super combatants, once you get them out, you're really, really going to want Soul Vortex. Most of them are going to need a gem to be able to cast it, but totally worth it. Being able to heal off of things that are surrounding you, which also reduces your fatigue, is amazing. And it combos exceptionally well into Phoenix Pyre. So if you die, you explode in a huge area, you gain a bunch of fatigue, and then you're just randomly placed back on the battlefield. And as long as you're not passed out, that can keep happening. So it makes you nigh unkillable unless they really have a really good counter setup for you. Because you're still going to have your Soul Vortex running. So you're going to heal up that fatigue super duper quick. Assuming you are fighting something you can heal off of. And if they do kill you somehow a second time, boom, you explode again and more things die. So that is quite powerful. Beyond those, in Evocation, as I mentioned, turn 1 Evos are very powerful, and we can easily do things like Falling Fires or Fire Cloud even is available to us. Flame Eruptions available to us. We could Fire Storm even on turn 1. We could do some very, very nasty things there. In Construction, not only do we want Thug Gear and we want boosters, I would say the Blast Bull is not terrible. I like him. Being able to get Legions of Steel out is super helpful. All of our troops, even our junkie slave troops, are quite well armored. So being able to just battlefield-wide 3 protection is great. Also gives you the Forge of the Ancients, which kind of doubles down on your forging ability. Very, very strong there. In Enchantment, I would say the main thing here, if you're going to go with a fighty god, you probably need personal regeneration. But beyond that, you also would probably want Fire Shield and Flaming Arrows. Flaming Arrows would be really nice. Or the battlefield version, which we can cast, Hail of Burning Embers. Having either our short bows to counter enemy crossbows or our own crossbows get at this is a major power spike. A major power spike. We would quite like that. Beyond those, in Thaumaturgy, the Battle Fury spells are decent, especially to help some of our human troops get a little more killy. We would sure love that. But the big thing here, I think, is Gigantomachia. That is the big one that we would like to see ourselves get out. For troop buffs, unfortunately, Earth is probably where we're at. A little bit of the fire buffing. We do have a little bit of water and air, but it's going to be like a water 1 or an air 1. And it's going to be on a cyclops, which, yeah, you may want to use. But beyond that, the buffing potential outside of just a thug unit or a super combatant unit is probably a little bit on the lower side. Okay, let's bring all of that together. One thing that I didn't really mention is our starting army. Our starting army is one of, if not the crappiest army in the entire game. You start out with a bunch of Helot archers and some Helot soldiers. I believe it's like 20 and 20. You are not killing something in late age with 20 short bows and 20 slave troops. It is going to be ridiculously hard to do that. And let's say you bounce, right? Your basic frontline troop is 26 resources. You can get like 3 of them on turn 1. It is absolutely terrible. It is imperative that you get your cap circle ASAP. I think arguably this is one of the nations that needs an Awake Expander the most, the absolute most. You have got to get that ball rolling. You need lots of money so you can buy Cyclops Smiths, which give resources, and you need lots of resources to get your troops. Even if you just want your 4 Cyclops soldiers, that's 67 resources each. That's almost what, 280 almost resources just for them, nothing else. And to do a decent expand, you probably need between like 8 and 12 Cyclops soldiers and like 20 crossbows behind them. Otherwise, you're going to have so much attrition that you're really going to struggle to get out there and expand. So, and even past that, your giants can't be led by shorties. So you have to get either a Cyclops commander or use one of your Cyclops Smiths to lead them. Let's say you go with the commander. Well, he's 83 resources. The Cyclops, he's only 3, but he's 335 gold. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of resources. We really, really, really need to get this cap circle. And we start with such a terrible, terrible army. I can't overstate how bad that army is. Beyond that, you are really trying to survive until the mountain blows and you can start getting your sweet, sweet super combatants. When does that happen? It can start happening on turn 30. I believe the base chance is 25% chance, and for every turn that it doesn't happen, it increases by 1%. So for me, it was a couple turns ago. I believe it was 38 when mine finally popped, which was kind of late, and it really sucked. It really sucked because I was waiting for these guys. So you're going to need a plan of A, how are you going to clear your cap circle? And B, how am I going to survive for 30 to 40 turns before I can get my awesome super combatants? Because everyone knows you're very weak in the early game, and that's when to get you. Before you have good magic, before you can get out your super combatants, before you can get big armies. Once you can get your armies, like our armies are spooky. Like just look at what I've just got sitting here. Just an entire giant chunk of Cyclops warriors, backed up by a whole bunch of Mouflon heavy cavalry, backed up by heavy crossbowmen. This is a good army. Like this is good troops, but it took me a long time. I mean, like I said, we're on turn 40 in this test game to really get pumping. But now that I am, look at this. Look what I just have sitting here. And I'm at war with Atlantis. I just beat Joman almost completely. He's on his last rope. I'm underground, conquering thrones. I have almost won on turn 40, and I wasn't even rushing the win. In fact, I was slow playing it because I was waiting for the mountain to blow. So that is just something of note. You need to have a plan of expanding and surviving that early game. If you can do that, you're going to have a good time. But I think a lot of people are going to have a vested interest in making sure that you can't do that. Okay, let's go take a look at some pretender designs. I have quite a few here because while our list isn't great, in fact, let's start with that. While our list isn't great, we have some good chassis on it. So Phlegra, unfortunately, has a very, very shallow pool of talent here. This is like Water Nation bad almost. Do note, if you're not at least 12 foot 12, don't talk to me. We have no size 1 pretenders down here at the bottom, or size 3, excuse me. So we are looking at a Dom 2, 3, or 4. Starting in 2, we have lots of monsters, and we have a lot of the good ones that can expand. We have Earth Snake, Earth Serpent, we have the Miracolian, we have Dave, the Golden Lion. I think you could do something with the Griffin. We have the Man-Eater. We have the Gorgons. Some people swear by the Gorgons. I think the Immortal is probably worth the 50 points if you're going to go that route. We have the Eldest Cyclops. I don't feel he brings a ton to the table other than being able to take production 3. I think that's at least worth a hard think. If you think you can expand somehow, getting production 3 would be very valuable to you. We have the Hound of Hades. I have shown off a build on this with Late Age Arco if you want to see an amazing super combatant. I like this chassis a ton. We have the Draken, a good one. I keep trying to make the Demiurge work. I can't quite do it, but I think you probably could. He probably needs to take Dread because he has Awe and Regeneration, but he just doesn't. He has 1 attack. Like, it's very difficult to actually kill something with that. So if we were going to try to get in there and take Dread, we need 8 and a magic. 8 and a magic for Dread. That leaves us at -1. So we'd have to go with a little bit here. Do note, though, he's only protection 14. So that's a little bit spooky. We can dump Turmoil. I think we're going to have to go with that. I guess you could have 1 free scale, whatever you're feeling here. Maybe lower that heat, or maybe take some fortune. Either one of those might work. I don't know. This makes me really nervous. And remember, we don't really have sacreds, so you're only taking your bless for your god. So I'm not sold on him. We have the Bulls. We have the Telking God King. Moving up to 3, we have the Great Mother. We have the Mother of Monsters. Great Archon. I think you could actually use that here. The Titan of Forethought. I don't like him as much as the Smith if you're just looking for production, because I like being able to dump Turmoil 3. We're going to have unrest problems anyways. We might as well just double down on those problems since we're already going to be trying to have a solution for those. So I think you actually end up losing design points with him. Plus he's 250, whereas the Eldest Cyclops is only 230. So that's another 20 points. And if we count the extra Turmoil, that's a 60-point difference there. Moving up to size 4s. Geyser's fine. I don't know what you're going to do with that, though, because you have no sacreds to bless. And I think we really do want a mobile god. Maybe a Bronze Colossus could do it for you. He's so expensive, though, at 380. You probably have to take him dormant. In fact, I think you are required to take him dormant. For him, I would want probably something like this and just hard skin. This would allow you to Cloud Trapeze and Personal Mistform, and then with the hard skin, that bumps him up to 30 protection base. He's going to be very difficult to get rid of. Could be a thing, but dormant. How are you going to expand? That makes me very nervous. Okay, now let's actually take a look at a whole bunch of those pretenders that I had made there. So first up, we have Stompy. Stompy's a white bull. I like the white bull more because you can take hard skin than the black bull, but if you did want to go with blood for some reason, obviously you could go black bull. With the hard skin, that's going to put him at 20 protection with no other buffs. I also took reinvigoration. That's really nice for trampler berserkers. It also helps our oppressor archons a little bit with their fatigue. His main thing, obviously, is going to be to try to help you expand. Note, though, we're in the age of knights and crossbows. I'm a little nervous with this chassis. You got to get in there and trample, so you're going to tire out. You're going to be taking lance hits, which I don't love. He does have recuperation, which is a nice benefit on that. And between hard skin taking you to 20 and then 5 more for berserk up to 25. So as long as you get some extra protection, you're probably going to be okay there. You would certainly like personal regen before things get really dicey, but solid, very solid. Once you have personal regen, personal iron skin, temper flesh, you're going to be very difficult to get rid of. Very difficult to get rid of. Next, we have Mekone. This is a great Archon. A guy I normally love and I never seem to be able to actually take, because most nations that can take him need a bless. Well, we don't really need a bless, so you can actually do it here. He's awake, has Fire 2 and Earth 3, Astral 4, 23 research himself, plus he's an inspiring researcher +2, and he increases the magic scales. So for him, we add 5 extra research if we sit around where our slave researchers are. That doubles their research. 10 research for 38 gold is incredibly efficient. In addition, he can craft you some astral boosters, which is something we would struggle to get into otherwise a little bit. He also has Alchemist 100. So if you do need to do some early game burning of fire gems into money, he'll make that way more efficient, way more money. So for him, I took a caster bless, so reinvigoration and farcaster. The idea here would be that you're going to research quickly into probably falling fires, if I had to guess, and then you're going to get out some oppressor archons that are going to drop some turn 1 falling fires into the enemy, and you will be pretty happy with those results, I think. He's also still a Titan. I mean, he has 97 HP. He can get out there and help. I probably wouldn't send him to solo expand, at least not until you have some buffs. He's going to want Fire Shield, Temper Flesh, Iron Skin, Astral Shield, Body Ethereal. Once you have those, I mean, he'll do okay. He has decent attacks. They are magic attacks, and his Scourge actually has double attacks, so that's kind of nice. Note, though, no regeneration, no awe, no fear. It's a little sketchy, No boots, and no, he has to wear a crown or a laurel because he has a rooster mane, so he cannot wear a full helmet. Next, we have Young Dave. Young Dave, this chassis is so good. This is what I want other Dom 2s to be. Somebody who can take a little bit of a bless and still have some scales and be awake. Dave does it. Dave's biggest weakness, of course, is he relies on invulnerability, but for the expansion phase of the game, you can avoid that. And then later on, he can transition maybe into a caster support or something and help out that way. This version of Dave has pretty decent scales, at least as far as this nation goes. And he's going to bring in Unaging, and I had an extra point, so I just added an HP. This is really, again, for the oppressors, and just another way that you can do expansion and get your ball rolling. He does just fine for himself with 3 magic attacks he's very good at. He can self-buff his attack once you unlock Battle Fury. Fire Shield's good. Personal Regen is good. Back himself up with Bark Skin in case they can bypass the invulnerability. He does have Fear. He's all around pretty good. Next, we have Dorian the Drake. Dorian the Drake is a Drakon. Not something I've used a terrible amount, but I actually like it here. I actually found him pretty good. He is pretty self-sufficient. In fact, he really doesn't like having other troops around. If you do have Cyclops, they can probably survive his poison breath. So that's what I would have with him if I did have troops there. In the early game, he's a super combatant expander. And in the late game, you can transition to being an army buffing person. He could do things like relief, which would help your heavily armored troops a lot. He could do battlefield wide temper armor. He can do battlefield regen even if you get that far. That's quite nice. And he actually has a hybrid bless. He took Hard Skin for himself, and he took Unaging for the Archons. Hard Skin takes him up to 26 protection. And then obviously you can buff on top of that. Again, personal regen, personal Iron Skin, Temper Flesh is what you're looking for. And that'll get you a long way with this guy. As long as he gets 1 poison breath off, most human PD, most human indies just can't handle him. They just absolutely cannot handle him. He does have lots of attacks, including a tail sweep, which is an AoE 1, and the Dragon Gas Breath. So he is very good. I still ended up getting a limp on the one in the test game you were seeing. So it does happen, but that's fine. Like I said, he can transition into an army buffer blesser later on. And remember, we do have the Tyrant crown, so you can add that, and that gets him into communions. And with communion support, he can do the largest stuff that you want to do, frankly. So quite nice there. I like this guy quite a lot. He's fun. One of the few dragon-esque chassis I actually like. So always good to be able to do something different. Next, we have Smitty. Smitty is an Eldest Cyclops. This is my I want production 3 attempt. I took on him a very mage-centered bless again, Unaging, 4 reinvigoration, and a precision. You could change this to taste. These are not required, just what I decide to go with. He here can craft a lot of juicy items, both flavors of elemental staves. He can give you air boosters, fire boosters, water boosters, earth boosters, nature boosters, all right out of the box. With a pair of earth boots, he can cast Forge of the Ancients and up that even more. So he can craft most of these things. Rune Smashers, another thing he can cast. Very, very powerful. He gets you those 30 extra resources. Now, I did take him dormant to afford this, so you're not going to have that year one, but you'll probably still appreciate those extra resources by the time he does come out. He would also make a super sight searcher, and if he needs to fight, he has all the pathing for all the self buffs that you would possibly want. And just forge him up a nice full set of gear, and with the self buffing, he'll get going and he'll do pretty well for himself. This is last of his line, Flippy. This is a cheeky pick, I feel. So this Flippy, the thought process here is they're not going to expect us to have poison. And we have a turn 1, no cast, foul vapors. So while he's not an expander god per se, I think you try to immediately get him at least a chess piece, and then he goes out and he expands with foul vapors. I took hard skin just to try to help him a little bit. That's going to take him up to 13 natural protection for himself. Put a little piece of armor on, he'll do okay. Maybe even the bracer, and he can temper his own armor. That would really skyrocket that. And his plan is basically just survive while the foul vapors kill everything. He can cloud trap ease in. We don't really have a lot of magic phase attack things we can do, so this gives us a different threat vector, again with the poison. This would be especially good if you were in multiplayer, if you were playing a lobby that there's nobody else who's really going to do any poison. I think this would be a surprise pick. Sorry for ruining the surprise, but yeah. We've done Flippy before a couple times, and he's a good chassis, especially once you can give him a little bit of gear. He's off and running. He also gets you immediate access to the ocean, which you can use him to take. If there's nobody else who's in there, or if you could just beat out other people getting in there, that's useful. He also can sail, and he's large enough to lead around Cyclopes. So kind of an interesting oddball pick here, but I do think he's viable. We have good enough scales. Again, you're seeing a lot of magic 1s in these builds. That's because we have bad magic resist on some of our troops. Going up to magic 2 is kind of a pain point, unless I'm just going to all in and go up to magic 3. So that's my thought process there. Again, on almost all these chassis, in fact, maybe all of them, Turmoil 3, it's free points. We're going to have Turmoil unrest problems anyways, which means we're going to have to use Priest to get it down, or extra PD, or patrolling, or whatever we're going to do. What's a few more troops? What's a few more PD for 40 points? I think that's fine. As much productivity as you possibly can get is very needed. Do note your capital has that fire mountain that's going to add extra heat. So you're already going to get heat pop kill. What's a little bit more, frankly? So that's my thought process on those various scales. In conclusion, Late Age Phlegra is a really fun nation. You have expensive but good troops. We get to do lots of crafting. We have some national spells that are pretty decent. We have a unique mechanic in the auto communion thing. Not very many nations can do that. We have recruitable super combatants if you can survive for 3 years. So a nation that once you get going is going to be great, but you need to have a plan to expand. Again, that starting army, man. That starting army is just atrocious. But if you get the ball rolling, I think you're going to have a lot of fun. And it's always great to see some monster things that are not humans make it all the way to the late age. So they get a big bonus thumbs up from me there. All right, builders, if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like on the video. That helps an absolute ton. If you want to go above and beyond to support the channel, you can always leave a super thanks, join me live for a super chat, or consider becoming a member of the channel. As a member of the channel, you get early access to videos such as this or other things I'm working on. In addition, you can link your Discord to your YouTube, and you get access to a members-only file channel where I have various game files like blueprints, turn 0 saves from games, or in the chance of Dominions, it is the island maps that I used in the past. So if you like those maps, you could go in there and grab those and play on them yourself. They can be a little hard to generate up. Other than that, that's going to be it for the Gigantes. Glad you made it, guys. Congratulations. One of the few non-human nations that has made it all the way. All right, builders, stay tall. I'll see you on stream. Babble out.